Greetings everyone, and welcome back to bannersonthewall.wordpress.com for this special Building the Herd for the Bison's first import signing for the 22-23 season, Marcel Balaz. And well, folks, we are well into unknown territory here. Every signing that we've had so far for the Bison, even Josh Kelly, who is technically new, has played for us before. We know what we're getting here. Balaz is a complete unknown commodity, not just for the Bison, but for British hockey in general. He's never played in the UK before. However, there's a few bits and pieces that we definitely can tell about what we're getting in this guy. And that is because, actually, if you have a stare at his stats on Elite Prospects, this guy is pretty much like every archetypical import that British hockey, especially at this level, has signed since well into the old EPL days. Slovakian by birth, 33 years old, originally played system for Prezov, and then bounced around between the under-20s leagues and the Slovakian second division, and then the Slovakian top division and the Slovakian second division. To be fair, he's played for some pretty decent teams. He has an amount of experience in the Slovakian Extraliga, 66 games across 4 seasons, all of which with HC Kozice. That's a pretty decent side. And then, like a lot of guys in the Czech and Slovak league, your big club kind of owns your rights and you are loaned out left, right, and centre to everybody and their mother. Trebizov, Bardiov, which is where he spends a lot of time. Michalovic, Prezov again. Balaz has kind of had seen it and done it all like a lot of guys had in the Slovakian system. His last season in his home country was 2018-2019, where he started the season at Michalovic, then went and signed for Huminer, and then, just to finish off 18-19, he took his first steps out of his homeland when he went, like a lot of Slovakians have over the last couple of years, into the French second division, which is where he spent the rest of his time. He finished 18-19 with Dunkirk, played 2 years for the Brest Albatros, and then last season played for Clermont. And I'm not going to try butchering the name in French, but the team in Clermont loosely translates as the Wild Boars. And that's kind of where we start getting into bits and pieces, because if you look at the stats from last year, they aren't a pretty picture. Now, 11 points in 20 games isn't the end of the world. The one thing people need to remember about France, whether it's the Ligue Magnus in the top division or the French second tier, they do not play as many games in France as they do in Slovakia, and especially not here. But that Clermont team last year was bad. And I mean bad, with a capital B. We're talking, well, maybe not Cardiff Fire South 1 levels of bad, but it was pretty bad. Overall, Clermont had a wretched year. A 26-game regular season campaign. Clermont won 1 game of 26, and they won it in overtime. They finished with a goal difference of minus 120. In the relegation round, they did actually win their first game in regulation of the entire year. Their other issue was they only won 1 other game. They were 2-10 in the relegation round and were relegated to the 3rd tier of French hockey. Balaz himself appears to have been a decent player on a pretty rubbish side. He was the 2nd top point scorer on his team last year with that points total, just behind a guy by the name of Tomáš Trnka, who's 8 years his junior, and after 16 games, hop ship from Clermont to go play for the Liège Bulldogs in the joint Belgian-Dutch league and has returned to Slovakia for this year. It'd be easy to read these stats and panic a bit. Why have the Bison signed a guy who was below a point per game, finished minus 15 on a side that wasn't just bad? They were so bad, they stunk the joint out last year in the French second tier. For even more ignominy, for more badness, he finished the year playing with Philippe Martinec before Martinec was eventually released from the side as well. Balaz is a risk. I don't think there's any means of there's another way to look at that really. His numbers in France are good rather than great. 6 in 10 for Dunkirk, 18 in 24 for his first his first year with Brest. 2 points in 10 games in that COVID shortened weirdness that France did, and then 11 in 20 for Clermont. The numbers aren't fantastic. The Slovakian numbers, much better. In fact, recent numbers were actually pretty impressive even before his departure. 27 in 22 for Humana before he left. His last season in Prezov, he had 49 from 45. The guy can do the business. 37-point season, 48-point season, 41-point season if we go back. The guy knew how to play. He's had point per game and just under point per game playoff appearances. But the biggest thing for the Bison, he kind of really feels a need. Looking at Balaz as an actual individual, 6'2", 203 pounds, left shot, says Elite Prospect. The fact he's been technically part of 2 extra Liga winning rosters is kind of beside the point here, because actually the biggest thing for the Bison right now, Balaz is a centre. And actually, we're starting to see a bit of a pattern emerge here, because not only is he a centre, he's very Klenya-esque. If anything, actually, he's 1 inch taller and a couple of pounds heavier. And it feels like Tate's going back to the well on this one. Martinek was a flop. No other means to put that. That was a humdinger of a bad signing. The Bison waited too long to get him. They were playing okay. Martinek came in and upset the chemistry of the lines and always looked like somebody had kicked his puppy. And Herd arguably never really recovered. The Bison need Balaz to come in and hit the ground running. And if he is more Kleiner than Martinek, then the Bison are very, very much going to be quids in. But as ever, it's a new import into the country. This is the great risk that a lot of guys take. Ashley Tate is apparently very, very set that Balaz was the guy. Hopefully he's right. With things like work permits now being an issue, if a guy comes in and he can't do the business, this is going to be an issue for the Herd. There are rumblings amongst certain sections of the fan base that are not quite sure about the roster so far this season, and they're entitled to that, right? I think the guys that the Herd have signed so far are pretty big indicators, at least stylistically, of where we're going, because last year, where things didn't click, maybe year 2 would be better than year 1. But that big gaping hole in the middle of the ice for the Herd now at least has one name in the middle of it. Who goes alongside Balaz? You'd guess it, probably Zach Milton. Potentially Aidan Doughty. Do you put Doughty and Milton either side of this guy, or do we reserve judgment a little bit for when we see who else is filling out our winger positions? I personally feel Milton will definitely start on the side of this guy, but that of course remains to be seen. It's hard to provide analysis on a guy you've never seen before. We can read the tea leaves, which is effectively what we're doing with Elite Prospects. We can look at what's there. You can see what Ashley Tate is trying to do. But will Marcel be magic? Or will Marcel be a mess? We find out September. Banners on the wall.wordpress.com, your number one source for everything related to the Bison. Of course, do keep checking back with us. The intention is to end July with a What's Current stream, so we can go over a few bits and pieces from across the NIHL. Otherwise, keep enjoying yourself. Look after yourself, especially in this heat. For Banners on the Wall at WordPress.com, this is Anthony Russell saying stay safe. So until next time.